edition of the Pick and Downs podcast. I'm your host, per usual, Sean Tyson, here with Zoo and Peepush. How you guys doing?
Doing well, man. I was just telling the guys moving later this week, but got to enjoy these finals, man. It's honestly been a pretty solid series. Kind of a couple blowouts, a couple close games. Talk about the refs however we want. I'm sure it'll be brought up in this discussion today, but yeah, I just hope Halliburton is healthy, man. That's really all I'm hoping for. I know he's got some sort of calf strain, but let's just hope he's able to be out there. We want to have all the best players on both sides ready to go in a finals matchup. I hate to see injuries.
Absolutely. Because I don't know, like last game was kind of it was just a spanking, but the game before that, I was like, wow. Like I always talk about Cinderella stories of not winning championships, especially in the NBA. Like in that fourth quarter, I was like, I was like in my stomach, like, ooh, like they actually have a chance of getting this done. And it was like right before the game, I placed a little series bet on the OKC Thunder because I was like, okay, I'll put a little money on OKC. I know that right now pace is looking good, but they ain't getting it done. But at fourth quarter, not gonna lie, I was kind of nervous. And things happened, and SGA put on just a closing of a performance. Dude, don't give me those eyes, man.
It was a great duo.
He was good. He was scoring in punches.
He was aggressive.
He was very, very aggressive, and he closed the game for them. He closed the game. Tyrese didn't do much, but my goodness, like, oh, man, the miracle and then the injury, I'm like, that's going to be tough to overcome because we saw how hampered he was in that last game. He was not healthy. He was not healthy.
The strain is not positive news. We were just talking about for the pod, Aaron Gordon sounds like he went against his better wishes and played. And, you know, I was thinking if they maybe somehow miraculously won that game and got to the next round, he probably would have been out, like Zeus said, probably the first 2 or 3 games. So I don't know. I'm probably positive he's going to get out there and give it a try because it's the finals. But in terms of him being effective, especially with his game, the herky-jerky, trying to get into the lane, taking contact to get layups, I don't know. It's going to be tough. But as we've seen in these finals, man, sometimes you think teams are dead to rights, and somebody's got control of the series, and next thing you know, it's going back tied up. So, Peebush, what are some of the thoughts you saw for the you have for the last game 4 and 5?
Yeah, game 4, it's just tough. I mean, yeah, SGA he took over and he was aggressive. He had a nice little duo there with Scott Foster. I'll just say that, man. He got a couple good calls. He got a couple good calls. He's one of the best scorers in the league. I know he's going to get that, but there was some that travel on the baseline was a little. You could talk about a gather step all you want. That was like a step and a half gather, and then another 2 steps after that. Man, I get it. He didn't lose possession. He wasn't bobbling the ball. He had possession the whole time. Yeah. And I think the Pacers won. You could see that crushed them. They were up 2-1. They're at home in game 4. They thought they had that in the bag. Zoo, you were texting me, man. You literally said, you're like, man, Cinderella team might actually pull it off. And smart man, you did live bet OKC, which was a great
yes,
call.
I did.
I love that.
But you get OKC plus 280. You take the value, man.
And you know what, Zoo? Also, I don't think even if the Pacers went up 3-1, I don't think they would have gentlemen swept and gone into OKC last night and closed it out 4-1. But if that was the case, man, I would have been so pissed having over 5.5 games, man, and the Pacers end up winning 5. I had a little positive of a win for the Thunder, forcing a guaranteed out of 6 games at least. But yeah, you could just tell that I think that took a little bit of the life out of pretty much every single player on that Pacers side going into game 5 outside of Siakam and TJ McConnell. And I got to make a big point here because I'm not blaming that entire loss. And I know, Zoo, you said it was a butt whooping. They were within 2 with 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter, man. And then they made 2 costly turnovers, and that swung right back to a 7-point lead in almost 30 seconds. And then, of course, the Thunder just stepped on their throats and took it over. Siakam single-handedly in that beginning of the fourth quarter almost pulled them right back into that game, scoring 12 points in the first 4 minutes of that fourth quarter. This guy has been the MVP and the most important person on this team outside of that Halliburton game winner in game 1. I'm not even going to say it. I got the finals MVP bet on him. I don't think it's going to happen. I can cash out. I'm hoping if it goes 7, that'd be a nice little cash out.
All right, that's the question. Are you going to wait for the cash out after the game or before the game?
Oh, after I'm riding it out at this point. Like I'd rather ride it out through a game 7 potentially if possible. But looking at that game 5, TJ McConnell 8 of 13. I think at that point he might have missed one more shot, kind of in garbage time. I have no idea if Halliburton is not only hobbled, but he's also 0 for 6 with 3 turnovers and very well. Did he have an assist? How many assists did he have? 0?
6 assists.
6 assists. He's still under his assist metric. He was not playing aggressively, rightfully so, with the calf injury. Why are you not putting TJ McConnell back in that game? The man was absolutely cooking. He's a better defender in at least a more aggressive sense. I know he's not as big and lanky and can affect a shot like Halliburton, but he will give you 110% on every single possession.
Yeah.
I'm very curious why Carlisle made that mistake and why the team just started going away from Siakam in the fourth quarter. He was cooking. Why are you not feeding him the basketball? He draws fouls. He can slow the Thunder down, which is exactly what you have to do. Because we saw once they get out in transition, man, they just swing it around twice. Jalen Williams, wide open 3.
Yep.
Jalen Williams, shout out to him, man. He's matching SGA low key in these last 3 games, especially in game 5. And if SGA can score a quiet 31 or whatever he had last night and not have to be under that much pressure to win the game because his boy's dropping 40 right next to him, man, that's just an absolute asset to have on your team. So, yeah, I was a little concerned with how Carlisle handled that fourth quarter, but at the same time, Nembhard, Halliburton, even Siakam at times, Mathurin as well, they all just looked completely flustered once they started making those couple turnovers. And it's not they were necessarily all bad passes. Some of them were great plays by the Thunder, but a couple of them, it was like lazy, tired. I don't know what it is. If maybe their defense is getting a little bit tired as well. They've been exerting so much energy to guard this Thunder team, and it kind of translates over onto the offensive side of the ball. But you can tell outside of Halliburton, they don't have another guy that can really handle the ball and protect the ball that great. McConnell does pretty well. He's above average, but, he's good in spurts, right? And, so it's tough. And, this Indiana team, to your point, Zoo, there's Cinderella. It's kind of starting to creep up on them a little bit. But at the same time, we've seen this team backed into a corner plenty of times in these playoffs. I could see them forcing 7. I like them in game 6. Back at home.
Me too.
Wow.
I know I mentioned this before the pod, but Carlisle, after game 4, made his nice little politics comments about the refereeing. Maybe that'll benefit the team a little bit in game 6. I'm not saying it's going to be egregious. And to be honest, on the OKC side, it's not egregious. That's not my point. It's just that you're getting some timely calls and getting other things overlooked, like a lot of push-offs and things like that. Chris Finch said it in the Minnesota series too. He goes, this team gets away with a lot of physical fouling, and you just have to work through it. We saw Jaden McDaniels get absolutely frustrated at what this Thunder's team did, and we can't see that happening to the Pacers, even when you're backed into a corner down 3-2. And I think Carlisle is a better mentor and just a better leader in that locker room to kind of make sure that the guys stay focused, stay locked in, and they do have the known fact that they're playing at home, which, to be honest, that Indiana crowd has rivaled the Oklahoma City crowd in respective home games in this series. So I'm excited to see it. I love a good game 7 in the finals. We haven't seen one in, how long has it been, Zoo, since we've had a game 7 finals, man?
2016.
2016, yeah, it's been a long time. So I would love to see another one. We know how great they can be. Yeah. I'm sure the NBA would love it for the ratings, even with small market teams. To be fair, this has been one of the better finals in the last handful of years, in my opinion.
Yeah, as you mentioned this previous game, Pascal Siakam has to be the guy now. He has to be aggressive with Halliburton hobbled.
Yep.
But not gonna lie, Pascal Siakam, he's had a very, very good series. But the last game, the turnovers.
Yep.
Like every time I watch Pascal Siakam, like his handle's not the tightest, but he has these moves where he just loses the ball.
Yep.
Like I gotta give credit to the Thunder defense, but a lot of it I feel like it's self-inflicted where he just doesn't have the tightest handles, and when he does his move, his spin, like he just loses the ball way too much. And the Pacers, they had, as you mentioned, they did have a chance, but they didn't have a chance when they had 22 turnovers.
Yep. It wasn't game 1. This wasn't going to be a game 1. Yeah.
Exactly. Like they were looking to pull off that game, turn the ball, but you doubled OKC's turnover.
Yep.
Like it's not like you guys shot they were scoring the basketball pretty effectively, even with their best player kind of invisible, probably having his worst game of his playoff career. They shot 45% from the field, 37 from 3. Like they were offensively pretty effective, but the turnovers just you can't allow OKC shoot 12 more shots than you. It just cannot happen. 12 more shots than you. Like And obviously OKC shot the lights out too, and so it was pretty impressive that they were still hanging in with the OKC Thunder up till the fourth quarter, and then they blew them out at the end where they pulled away. But mainly it was because of turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
Like as you mentioned, this Pacers team, they do fight the bench. The bench is very, very effective. When teams in the past, like we compare this to a team like the Denver Nuggets, when they go to their bench, it's like this is like one of the worst teams I've ever seen. But you put the Indiana Pacers bench in there. I got to shout out Obi Toppin, the former New York Knicks. He is a very effective player in these playoffs. He shoots it really well, really athletic, a lot of energy. Like Obi Toppin showing that he's a nice rotational player where he's like a big power forward swing guy, but he can shoot the three. And then, as you mentioned, TJ McConnell was the best point guard for his team that day. And I am surprised how well he played because I thought the length, the physicality, it was going to disrupt him. But he had a couple of off games, but having 18-4-4 in the finals, like 18-4-4, and the dude's 6'1", like off the bench in 22 minutes. Like that is
should have played more. He should have played more.
Is, like he had they lost by 11, and he was a +4. +4. Like so I'm like teaching, and this is with Bennedict Mathurin just wetting the bed after having his career game. The last game where he dropped 27 in like 20+ minutes. So like they did have a chance at the fourth quarter, but the turnovers definitely bit them in the butt. And as you mentioned, J-Dub dropping 40 points.
Yeah.
Dude, like that is because I remember I was a very big doubter after his last season. We saw in the playoffs he kind of shrunk scoring wise. He was not the best efficient scorer. In the regular season, it was getting 20 points in efficiency. In the playoffs, it dropped off to 17, 16 points per game on lower efficiency. I'm like, oh, maybe it's because he's young. Like, because this guy's only 24 years young. He's in his third season in the NBA. He's
third season breakout.
Yeah, he was one of those college guys. Like he played a decent amount of years, but he's in his third year. He's in his third year, and he dropped 40 points a game. You know how many NBA legends we can talk about have never scored 40 points in the NBA Finals? And he did it in his third year. Like, do you know what he's doing right now? Oh, he's getting a nice little payday after this. Like, you want to take a discount? You know who's taking a discount? Chet Holmgren.
As he should.
Chet Holmgren's going to take the discount.
I have a question about that.
Wow. But J-Dub's like, I dropped 40 in the finals.
40 is crazy,
like, He won them the game. He won them the game.
Not only did he drop 40, but in the series, he's averaging 26, 6 and 4 on 45% shooting. He's averaging 26, 6 and 4 as your second option.
Yep.
As a second option, he's that complimentary. And he's not just an offensive guy. He's all NBA defense caliber guy. So he plays a two-way guy, and he's really expanding the game. Like he's just shooting 3-point shots, especially last game, shot 60% from three. Like this guy's been really, really effective at shooting the three last game, and he got a nice little layup package. Like every time I watch him, he had that scoop layup, that one hand. I don't even know that move. He always has this move where he has this scoop layup, and I'm like, oh, I didn't know J-Dub got that in his bag, but he can finish in the paint. So like what he's done, I am very, very impressed with J-Dub, and I'm just like, dang, Sam Presti does it good because I don't know anybody talking about J-Dub at the he's a 12th pick. The 12th pick. That's not an easy pick to make.
The Wizards picked Johnny Davis over him.
Yeah. This is what happens when you got a bad franchise and a great franchise. Yep. Decisions like this, I'm like, J-Dub was like Santa Clara. Do you remember the last great Santa Clara basketball player? I don't know, man. So like, shout outs to Presti for getting this guy because he drafted this guy and he's putting up 26 points in the NBA Finals as a 24-year-old. Like, unbelievable. So I got to shout out J-Dub dropping 40 points because they needed 40. If he missed a couple more threes, like, maybe we're in the balance in the last 6-5 minutes, a little closer game. Like, we don't know what's going to happen. So, like, he had to drop 40 points because this was a high leverage game where, man, you go up 3-2, you go down 2-3. Okay, now we're talking like we're going to get a little sweaty in the next game. But now they're sitting pretty right now, 3-2 right now. So, shout outs to J-Dub as a third-year guy dropping 40. So, shout outs to him. After last year, he didn't play his best, but he improved. And this year, even in the Nuggets series, I was like, kind of the same J-Dub. Like he's not that 20-point like second scorer, but he's really shown that. Okay, in the T-Wolves series, he was awesome, and now in the NBA Finals, he's getting even better. So he's like getting better by the series, and it makes sense.
The nerves are going away.
Exactly. Like this is like, okay, we're getting some playoff like backbone, like getting some playoff calluses right now. So shout out to J-Dub being the second option. He fight for the whole Finals MVP. I wouldn't give it to him, but he's fighting for it. He is fighting for it.
He ain't getting it though.
No. There's a reason Shea is minus 650 right now.
He should
be. He should be.
Yeah, he should be.
Listen, I have an interesting question because everything you guys are talking about with OKC and how they showed up in Game 4, and Game 5, I kind of agree with. I just feel like with Indiana, my point was Pascal needs to be the dude. Last night he was, but doesn't matter if Tyrese is injured or Tyrese is not playing his game. If he's half of who he is, it's just not going to matter because as much as TJ McConnell was going off, or not going off, but playing better than what he usually plays, and other guys stepping in and having, I guess, moments where they're stepping up for the team. When you're going to get a buzzsaw like OKC, you kind of need everything to be going into motion. So that 18 from TJ McConnell would have been a whole lot better if Tyrese had 20. Then we're looking at maybe, or Mathurin had his game. What was that, 3 that he went off?
They combined 2 for 17, man. 2 for 17 between them two.
And they're also like J-Dub, even though the Pacers went to the conference finals last year and they got swept by Boston, they're still in that phase of, at least with Mathurin, I feel like it's like, hey, because there was until Tyrese, I'm not sure what year who got there first, but there was a thing. Mathurin was like, hey, he's going to be the dude for Indiana. This is the guy that we're going to build our franchise around. And then Tyrese came in and kind of took that role away from him. Okay. So I think Mathurin has the confidence. It's just, this is the finals, man. And when you're playing in the finals and it's the bright lights, sometimes those, I always talk about a lot of sometimes the guy, like in a game, if they get to Game 7, like the support guys are going to have the games of their lives more than likely, because there's no pressure on him. There's no legacy-defining moment for Bennedict Mathurin if he goes off in a Game 7, or there's no legacy for, like, TJ McConnell could have 25 in that Game 7. It's not going to matter because if they win or lose, they're just going to be like, TJ scored 25 in the Game 7. Like, that's what his legacy is going to be. It's not going to be like, oh, he only had 25. He should have had 35. So I think it's just the inconsistency of, like, understanding the moment. And, Tyrese has been the shot maker and the guy that's doing it all. But if he's half hobbled, then this, that's all she wrote. But like I said, I won't ever go against a Rick Carlisle team. Would not be shocked if they won Game 6 and go to Game 7. You never know. But I have a question about OKC because, man, watching the game last night and seeing J-Dub go for 40, it's like, yeah, you kind of see the maturation process. Last year, he kind of came up small because it was kind of his first time in that big spotlight that I was just talking about. And now he's showing like, hey, I'm a dude now. I'm part of this Batman Robin. We're 1 and 2. This is our team. If I'm Presti, because obviously this ain't going to really affect next year because all of them are still on decent contracts, and it's like, they can kind of maneuver around stuff. And I think they were I don't know what post-game show I was watching, but they were talking about like Hartenstein's deal was like 2 years, and it was set up that way for a reason because I think like J-Dub and Chet or whatever, they're going to go up
and they got to pay them.
Yeah, so I get Preston and all of them know the finances of that. But like when I watched that, in prisoner of the moment, I get it, prisoner of the moment. But even if you watch his entire playoffs, J-Dub has had a game in each round where he's made, or he's had a statement game like, oh, he's here now. So it's not like it's just, oh, he had 40. This 40 in the finals feels like a crescendo moment. Like, oh, this is a moment now and everybody sees it. But if you've been watching playoffs, he's had these moments in each round. Like with these aprons, dude. And it sucks to say this about Chet because he's been like that first year that he got into the league, he got injured during summer league. And then I think the next year after that, he had like back problems or hip problems, something. Like he hasn't really had a consistent year where he's been fully healthy to really unleash and develop a lot of his skill. But it's going to be really hard when they have to start making tough decisions. And they're going to have to because they're not going to be able to keep everybody. Because even when watching last night, and I was watching J-Dub mainly, but if you just watch Lou Dort play, God, I want him on my team. I do not want to just like people foregone conclusion. Oh, just guy, we can't sign Dort. It was like, well, wait, let's slow down. Like Dort is integral. Like he's obviously Caruso is like basically on a Hall of Fame track now because of how he's affect teams. But like he's like in that type of realm of like player, but a little bit better, a little bit more athletic, and you can match him up with more players. Like he's just an integral part. But of course, he's probably going to get axed because of just his skill level offensively. I feel like they're just going to be like, we can't pay you. But, man, it's a real discussion between J-Dub and Chet of, like, who am I going to prioritize? And I was thinking about that last night of, like, I know it's not fair to Chet. It's not fair because he's been injured. But I don't know how much – because, again, Chet was, 4 of 12 last night?
The best ability,
I had it
Sean,
with
is
me.
availability, man.
Yeah, he was 415. And he's had a lot of 9, 12, 15, 12, 11, 10, 12. And I get it. He's the third option, right? So people will probably come back to me and be like, hey, if he's a second option to bring prioritized and there's no J-Dub, he'd be averageable points. I don't know, because Chet to me feels like a player who's still trying to figure out his body in terms of like, yes, he's a perimeter player, but he's not physical enough right now, especially in the. It kind of feels like he's on that Evan Mobley track where, remember Evan Mobley when he first came in, it's like he kind of needs to understand he's a big guy, but he's also a big guy who can do moves. And now, like, he's physical inside now a little bit more, and he's still got the perimeter game. It just kind of feels like with Chet, like, I don't know in OKC will he be able to reach his full potential, because it is obvious the number 1 and 2 scoring options for that team is Shea and J-Dub, and that's end of story. I don't think, and I think people, I feel like people think the timeline is going to be, well, eventually Chet's going to become better than J-Dub, and he's going to be number 2. I don't know, dude. J-Dub just put up 40 in the finals, and he's only going to keep getting better. So to me, I was thinking last night, I was like, what are they going to prioritize? I know they don't have to think about it next year, but like, what is their thought process going to be? Because they're going to have to make a decision. And if I'm Sam Presti, I think I might bank on Shea and J-Dub, because when you think about what you want in modern day NBA, you want the 2 wingish, guardish type players who can go get you buckets like they're showing you in these finals as your main 2 options. It's like, I don't think Chet has gotten to a point where he's so extraordinarily rare in terms of what he can do to where, oh yeah, we got to prioritize him. No, because there's no way they're going to pay all 3.
No, especially if it's a very easy decision. I think it's.
I do too, but I don't know if you go just, and I'm in these Twitter streets or X streets, but like a lot of, because I was just bored after I was watching the game. I just typed in like Chet and J-Dub to see like what the conversation, because I felt like that was coming, like that conversation was going on, because I was like, I wonder if people are talking, because he scored 40 points, and there were some people, and like I said, I didn't fact check and see if these are even real people, but it's like there were a lot of people saying like, oh, there's a decision to be made about J-Dub and Chet, like who's number 2. And there was a lot of people still fighting for Chet. And I get he was a part of the Paolo draft, and it's like, oh, you know, he got the recognition of going number 1, number 2, and all that stuff. But I was just thinking to myself last night, like, next year is going to be really critical for Chet's development in terms of, will he become a guy where he just naturally becomes, because he's 7 foot, 7'1", and his skill set is so undeniable that J-Dub may just have to take a step back, because Chet's ascension is just, he pops off in year 3 or 4, or will he just always be the number 3 guy? Because I feel like it's trending towards Chet needs to, it sounds crazy to say, but he might need to be on another team to like really reach his potential, because I don't think he's ever gonna supersede. Like, people are gonna say, well, he's fine with winning. Yeah, like if you're an OKC fan, you want Chet to stay and develop as a defensive guy. But like, if I'm Chet, I want to make All NBA. Like, the most Chet could ever do with them is be Defensive Player of the Year. Maybe.
That's the thing. That's the thing. They don't need him to be a primary scorer.
No,
they don't even, as you mentioned, they don't even need him to be a secondary scorer. They need him to be the Chris Bosh for that Miami Heat team.
I was just gonna say that
he has the same.
Is he gonna do it? He's young. Chris Bosh had already got his accolades.
This thing. Chet wants to get paid, obviously.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And if he's putting up 14, 12, 10 points, it's a little harder for your agent to be like, yo,
$3 million and go back to the court. Yeah, that's what he'll say.
Right? So it's going to be a little harder for that. So money obviously is the biggest reason. But as I mentioned, Sam Presti, he's going to be able to get guys every single year. And the guy has millions and millions of draft picks, where every year he's going to have more opportunities to get to pretty much all he does as veteran guys right now. He's just getting physical defenders, shooters, for spacers for his primary options right now. If you see how he built this roster, Hartenstein is a defender. He's a good passer for a big. Alex Caruso, perfect 3-and-D guy, great passer, great veteran guy. Like, he's getting these guys that fit in these niche roles. And Chet Holmgren, as you mentioned, they don't need him to be a primary scorer. They just need him to play defense on pick and roll, hit the open 3, and that's all he's going to be asked for. So that's why he's very inconsistent in his numbers, because he's not asked to do much. There's games where he shoots single-digit number of field goal attempts, and that's what they need him for this roster. And we'll see if Chet's all about winning, as you mentioned. Because if Chet talks all about winning, you stay in this system, you're going to get paid. You're not going to be paid that max contract, but you're still going to be handsomely paid $30+ million. Like, you might never hit that 40 or 50 that you eventually want, but you get that $25 to $30 million in a good situation where they're all boys, right? They're all boys, but I'm telling the one thing that does change people is that money.
It's money.
It's money, right?
They say that.
I'm telling you. But I feel like Sam Presti, as you mentioned, the Hartenstein deal was done for a reason. Like that's a great you mentioned that. It's a shorter deal, and when his money's up, they can allocate that money to a Chet Holmgren. So like there's ways to do it, and especially if they keep getting these cheap rookie contracts, there's a reason to get all these young guys. They're making less than $4 million. So he can fill his team with super young contracts. He doesn't miss on draft picks, and then you can allocate front load all your money to your big three and those three, because the rest is just Alex Caruso.
It's a great problem to have.
And Lou Dort. Like those are the guys that he's paying right now. There's no bad contracts on this roster. He might trade a Lou
There's
Dort
no bad contracts
to free up space for Chet Holmgren, but there's ways to reallocate resources, especially with this roster, with the number of young rookies that they're going to constantly draft every single year. So I'm not worried about cap space for the future.
Do you just, if you watch this entire playoffs, I know the answer, but I just want to hear like what you guys say. Who's more impactful and would be more impactful for this team going down the road, Dort or Chet?
Dort.
That's why I'm thinking in my head, like,
because of the role. And
yes, and it's
and
more specific.
No one's mentioned this. We just talked about he's so wiry. It's the way he's built. You can't ask a guy that's like that, especially I know he's still pretty young, but even Anthony Davis, when he came out of college and he kind of was a similar build, he started putting on weight.
Yeah, his shoulders look a little different. It just looks a little different from
a little
Chet.
different.
It still looks like a child.
It was a little bit. Yeah, his shoulders were up there, so he had frame.
It looked broad.
Yeah.
Same with Giannis. Giannis was very similar to more so not as much like Chet, right?
But like the weight,
like the weight. Yeah, he was more like AD a little bit in the sense of still looked wiry, but they were going to be able to put on weight more easily, and they did relatively quickly. But I just think Chet's injury concern is even bigger for
and
me.
It's early. Yeah,
it's early in
his career.
His build,
big guy.
His build doesn't help him in that case. We've actually seen him kind of get abused by bigger guys that he's had to defend.
He struggled with some of Miles Turner a couple times. Miles Turner.
He struggled with Miles Turner. He struggled with Siakam. I know they've thrown different guys at Siakam, but it's not. He's a good shot blocker, but when he can just kind of plant in the paint, and when they have, I know they kind of got rid of running him and Hartenstein hand in hand that much, but when that's Hartenstein's role, and he's much better at it. He's also not a good screener. He's compared to Hartenstein. I just don't see. I would love to see him be the second option on a team and be able to shoot,
preferably
be able to shoot 4 for 15 and that team still win, because that's what he did last night. And we just talked about how J-Dub needed 40 to get them that win. Obviously, all the turnovers. The Pacers played horrible basketball and lost by pretty much 10 points. And to a guy that they had 72 between their two best players. Their next best player shot 4 of 15. And that's Chet. I know he's a good player. I think a lot of people
talk. He's a very good player. Yeah,
he's a very good player. But to your point, Zoo, I think he's a third option, and you're not paying a third option. Maybe some teams
you can't give him the max. You can't give him the max.
Of course.
You can't give him the max.
But he's always talking about winning and all that. He gives me the idea that he wants a max at some point, and I just don't see a team doing it. Yeah. And the Thunder might pay to keep him, maybe because of the camaraderie of it, especially if they win a championship.
I think Sam Presti don't want to get those James Harden flashbacks.
Sure.
I don't think ownership is going to be cheap enough about luxury tax in that situation and break up a great situation because ownership's like.
But you know what the difference is though? People keep saying that about Harden, and he could have paid, and Harden wouldn't have got the max or whatever, but he would have got whatever his number was going to be. But I think there would, and I know this is, I wasn't a scout, and I wasn't in the rooms, and I wasn't talking to NBA guys, but like I do remember, like now going as he went to Houston and did what he did. I do not think Chet is like his ascension when James went to Houston, like becoming. There was a little bit of people like when you just watch guys that work out during the summer, they were talking about like James is like when I remember when James Harden was playing, and he might have already been in OKC, but I remember when he was playing in like a summer league stuff, and he was playing with Kobe. And I remember Kobe making comments like, this dude's a little like James, and he's a southpaw guy that could just get his whatever off the dribble. There were rumors of like if he gets his own situation, he's taking off. but like nobody knew it yet because he hadn't proved it in Houston yet. I feel like with Chet, I don't see that ascension. I think it's hard for me, and I know it's early and he's been injured, but it's just hard to envision him even becoming like a number one option. I think he could be a really good number two option somewhere. That's why I feel like, I know it sounds good. They talk about the winning and stuff, but I would love to see him with like a second option in the East somewhere where he's getting 20 shots and he's going to get more high quality shots because he's just a good player. I just don't see that in OKC.
And what do you think they could get if they decided to flip them?
Oh, they get a haul.
They can get a haul.
And
let's be honest, a haul. Oh, and I know we're going to talk about a haul that one team just got. But you're talking about that for a non-all-star. I know he scores 20 points per game, but compare that to Chet, who's got all this upside that everyone always talks about.
Everybody loves upside.
Least a team, man. The Bulls would probably trade their future for him. I'm not saying I want that. But at the same time, he's the type of guy that he cannot be a first option. I don't see it.
He's not a first option on a championship team. He might be able to be a second Curly. He's a that's what makes this OKC team great because you got Chet as a third option, and he's a luxury. He's an absolute luxury for this team. And I don't know, you guys listen to this stat. Without Chet Holmgren this year, 50 games. Guess how many games they won without Chet Holmgren? Just throw out a number.
42.
42 exactly. They won 42 and 8 without Chet Holmgren. Think about
crazy.
That is an 84 win percentage without your third option. Think about that. So they don't need him. Based on that stat alone, they don't need him to be a good team,
great team.
But with them, that's why they're like, okay, they're on verge to win a championship right now. Like that's what makes the team so great that your third option's out. If you have a third option for most other teams, they're going to be struggling. They're absolutely going to be struggling. But without him, 84%. That is ridiculous.
To Sean's point, though, you could argue that Dort and Caruso have been more important to this team in this series and in the playoffs.
Oh, I know for sure Caruso in the playoffs has been unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like some of those,
you could argue he's not even.
He forced on the guards on the other side of the court. I'm like,
he might be the third option on paper, Zoo, but I don't think he's been the third option in these playoffs.
Definitely not in the finals.
Sure.
Definitely not in the finals, because watching the finals, especially with the guard play of harassing the other team's guards, like Alex Caruso is just getting his hands on.
And that's the thing, man. Caruso and Dort, like they're making, like you say, it's a guard league. They're making your guards, it's like you're in hell with those two on the court. So it's like that is just so like I know Chet is like you got a guy. It's just easier to find, and Chet's better than most guys who play center position, but it's just easier to find. Like I just put a 7'1", 7'2" guy up there who's kind of semi-athletic, guard the rim, do whatever, and maybe make an open three. But having a guy like Caruso and Dort who don't run out of energy and who can switch off and just make just simple tasks like bringing a ball up the court really difficult.
I love that.
It bothers you. It bothers you, and like that is invaluable. So like. Listen, if I had to place a bet, they're gonna emphasize Chet over Dort and Caruso. I get it, but I'm just saying it's just a conversation we had, and it just sprung in my head because J-Dub going off for 40. It was like, holy cow, because the conversation it felt like was like, well, J-Dub is really, really good, and he's a good sidekick to Shea, but like Chet's potential, like you said, everybody loves potential. It's like eventually Chet could maybe be a 25-point scorer and 12-point rebounder, and it's like maybe he can, but like him being injured early in his career, I don't know. It's just interesting what they're going to do in a couple years.
Just solidified the rest of his career last game.
Yeah,
he solidified
even OKC.
He solidified contracts for the next 10 years because of that game, which is crazy.
He's gonna. What is his suit like? He's gonna be what an 80-year, probably $1 million deal coming up.
Supermax, they're gonna probably hit $75 million.
If it gets close to. That's almost $1 million a game, ain't it? If he got to like not 75 million, but if it was like if he got to 77, that's like what? I mean, I don't know. I'm bad at math.
I'm sorry, he's great, but there's no sports athlete outside of maybe an individual like boxer or something. Maybe a soccer player because of how big it is. There's no sport player that is worth $70 million a year, man. That's just insane.
And like the 82 game season, so like, yeah. But that's like the new TV contracts, like. Yeah, Shea's going to be getting close to 75, and then who's the next, like, because he's getting a super max, right?
He's getting the super max. He's won MVP and All NBA. Like he's getting the super max.
Yeah,
and then isn't that with too? Like you have to be with the team for a certain amount of time too, or is that different? Yeah, super. So I don't know who else would be eligible for that because as much as people are moving teams, I don't know what young star now coming up would be eligible for the Supermax if like they get to like NBA, MVP, and that stuff. I don't even know who that would be. But yeah,
Josh
I don't know.
Giddey. No, I'm just kidding.
Let me tell you, if he's getting Supermax, that means the Bulls are in the conference finals or NBA finals more than likely. So that'd be a good development for them. But speaking of contract extensions, draft compensation, we had a little bit of news over the weekend with the Orlando Magic going all in and getting your boy Desmond Bane from the Memphis Grizzlies. I guess it's 5 picks, I guess, because a pick swap too is like, I guess it was the total amount of picks he got. And then it was Cole Anthony and who else? KCP. Yeah. So like I said, Orlando made that trade over the weekend. And Zoo, what was your thoughts initially? And, after you've had a little bit of time to think about it, what are your thoughts after that?
Man, I'm just like, the Pacers in the NBA Finals, that could be us. That's what every East team is saying.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, that any East team that's, I would say, around the top 6 right now is like Boston's out, the Knicks making the Knicks, the Giannis Bucks situation, no Dame. This is our chance to make the NBA Final because the Indiana Pacers, what Cinderella does is give all the other princesses, this could be our fairy tale ending too. And Orlando got that Disney magic right now and hoping for the Magic Kingdom for them to make the NBA Finals because they unloaded every single one of their chips. Like, this is an all-in. This is an all-in type of move because they gave that money to KCP. I remember that. I was like, yeah, that's an overpay. KCP is a Jokic product. Like, I'm sorry. KCP is a Jokic
Actually, there's a lot of Jokic products. Buyer beware if you're trying to trade with Denver.
Like I love Aaron Gordon. He's a Jokic product.
Bruce Brown.
Yeah.
What's Bruce Brown doing?
Christian Braun.
I'm telling you.
Be careful.
Christian Braun, do not give that brother that money. Please don't. Please don't. He's a good player, but there's a lot of Jokic products out there that you can't. You don't got a Jokic, you don't got the same guy. So shout out to them. But KCP, Cole Anthony, like the Grizzlies. I'm like, dang, they actually pulled the plug. They pulled the plug on this roster because imagine like Desmond Bane is probably one of the most consistent basketball players with John Moran's shenanigans. Like Jaren Jackson, I don't even think he's still offensively, still developing skill set. Like Desmond Bane right now is probably their most consistent offensive player. And he's a playoff guy too. Like we've seen Desmond Bane shoot the lights out in some absolutely big playoff games. So he's a terrific player and he plays defense too. So he's a two-way guy where what we talk about Orlando? What do they need? Shooting. Like they had no shooting at all. It was like one of the worst offensive teams in the NBA. And as much as we loved Orlando and their young guys, they were lacking that shooting out there. And they got one of the best dead-eye shooters in the NBA. But the problem is it was expensive. Don't get me wrong. Sending out unprotected picks, straight naked, no protection at all. I hope you don't get pregnant, man, because Jesus Christ, man, you better make it to the conference final. Like, you better make it to the conference finals because you pretty much sold your future for this deal. And pretty much they're like, let's make the finals right now because they think they got that A1 in Paolo Banchero. They think that's their superstar with the number 1 overall draft pick. They think Franz is the number 2. And Desmond Bane is the guy that can that little trio right there. And you got Jalen Suggs as the 3-and-D defender. And you got Wendell Carter as a nice little center position with rounds up
Miles Turner. He's a poor man's Miles Turner.
Pretty much that roster. If you look at it on paper now, oh, it's kind of nice. It is very, very nice.
Look at the bench. That's the issue.
Yeah, Jonathan Isaac.
If they would have been able to keep Cole Anthony, I think more people would be.
As a 6-man. Maybe they're not. Yeah, I'm like, they're gonna have.
They may sign somebody.
But I'm like looking at that roster right now. I'm just like, I appreciate the aggressiveness, especially in the East, because as I mentioned, Indiana could do it. Any team could do it, right? So they think they got that. They think that they got their. This is a team. This is the type of move you make when you have that guy where you believe is a superstar, which is Paolo.
That's true.
This is the move you make. This is belief in your young star. You don't make this move if you don't got that young star that you think could bring you to the championship level. So I applaud the move. The risk is high, though. The risk is absolutely high because, my God, they sold out their entire future because if they have some bad season, there's going to be some nice juicy picks going over to the Memphis Grizzlies, which is another team that makes really, really good draft picks.
They do.
Like, they're really – they drafted Desmond Bane. They drafted Ja. They drafted Jaren Jackson Jr. They drafted pretty much that – they got they drafted pretty much that
Dylan
entire
Brooks.
roster. Like, yeah, exactly. Second round picks, late round picks, undrafted guys. They bring guys in and they produce. So this is a team right now. It's like, look at the rosters. Like, 48 in the West, 48 wins in the West. We ain't good enough. We ain't good enough, and we're gonna retool the roster around, I guess, giving Jaren Jackson big money that's coming up. I don't know about that. Like, I love Jaren Jackson as a player, but like he might be in that Chet Holmgren category.
A little more proven.
A little more proven. But I think he's in that Chet Holmgren category where
I think he's better than Chet. And that's just because of his defensive side. I think he's a little bit more better than.
But if you look at the prototype type players,
yes,
Jaren Jackson will never be your number one option in a championship.
No.
Like the peak Jaren Jackson, we know it. It's Anthony Davis, and he's never been a number one option on a championship team. So Jaren Jackson is a 2 at best. I think he's more of a 3 just based on the role in the offense. But this is like, are they going to trade Ja? Are they going to trade? That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, are they actually going to trade Ja? Or they're going to retool the roster around paying Jaren Jackson the big money. You're going to still ride with Ja and bring some new support around these guys and pretty much get rid of your big money and spread it around on some smaller money. So that's what I'm thinking of that trade. So, my God, Orlando went for it. I give them props for it. You're in the Eastern Conference. This is your chance to make the NBA Finals next year. But it was a heavy price. Like I was like, dang, they were able to get 4 unprotected. Not just 3, 4.
Well, let me tell you, Zoo.
3.
Rudy Gobert reset that market, man. Trades, let me tell you. I'm serious, man. People are expecting like 3 to 4 first-round picks for
unprotected
players.
Unprotected. Like these ain't protected picks. These are unprotected picks, man. Those are scary picks to send out.
Unbelievable. And so I mean, looking at this trade, I think I wanted to make that funny point, but one thing I was reading about that I thought was, I guess you could kind of apply to the Magic in this situation, but then you have a very similar situation where they didn't do something like this in the Thunder, and we've seen obviously how that's turned out. But it's the fact that they have such a young team that their next future draft picks, one, they're not going to be lottery guys, right? They're going to be a good team in the East, especially in the East. They're going to stay out of the lottery.
Yeah, that's my point.
Right. But also, even if they did kind of go down the crapper and Paolo gets injured or something, how many more young guys are you going to fit into this team and be able to develop well enough for them to actually turn into assets that either you could flip or you could end up starting or having in your 7-8 man rotation? So they decided to go, hey, we'll sacrifice those out of maybe 4 unprotected picks. Maybe you hit on 2 of them. The Magic have been a little hit or miss on their drafting in years past. But you're saying, okay, I'm fine pretty much having a solid starting 5. I forgot about Jonathan Isaac. He's great, kind of an Obi Toppin type, different player, but gives you good energy off the bench. Great defender. You need guys like that. I do think they need to add 1 or 2 more 3-and-D guys, more so leaning on the 3-point side, as you mentioned, Zoo. Atrocious offensive team. I think they might have been bottom of the league this past year. Definitely bottom of the playoff teams this past year on the offensive side. So this is a huge play. I love Bane. I really like Jalen Suggs, who they signed to a contract extension. Yeah. Obviously, he's going to play the point guard. Franz Wagner. As long as these guys can stay healthy and Wendell Carter doesn't become an absolute bum and Jalen Suggs can, continue to develop his offensive game, I think this team could be a top 4 team in the East, especially looking into next year. But, I am very curious to see if they go after like a veteran point guard, because as much as I enjoy watching Jalen Suggs, and I know he's a great player, he is coming off injury.
Yep.
They did pay him a lot. I think it's a 5-year deal, getting like 21 million, something like that. But they do need someone that they can trust, not only to handle the ball, but also to handle the locker room, because it is such a young team. And Desmond Bane, sure, he kind of fits into that age level. He's a little bit older, but they need to have like a Caruso type guy to come in and really solidify that team, whether it be on the offensive or defensive end. It doesn't matter. It's more about the mentality and the maturity level. So if they want to make a finals run, right, that's kind of what we've seen Siakam do for the Pacers. We've seen Caruso doing that for the Thunder, and so on in years past with other teams. So if the Magic truly want to go all in, which I think was the right move,
they went all in.
They went all in. I think that those are just a couple things they need to do to tweak. But I really like this fit, and they're obviously addressing a direct need of this team, and really the reason why they lost that first series. Because they were in that series with the Celtics there for a bit, man. And if they had a little bit more 3-point shooting, that, like Sean, you might have finally had your first Orlando Magic playoff upset that we've been talking about for a couple of years now. So I really like this move. On the Grizzlies side, I totally respect it. Desmond Bane, I'm sorry, he's not even made an all-star team, and you just got 4 unprotected first. You absolutely fleeced him. Now, it could end up being one of those, positive trade for both sides. Hopefully it is. But I am curious to see what they do with Ja. Obviously, they drafted Edey. He's not a cornerstone piece, but he's a solid player. We've talked about like Pippen Jr., right? Obviously, Triple J.
He's a good player. Yep.
This will give an opportunity for some of those guys to get more minutes. We're kind of hoping to see something like that, right? With like a Rob Dillingham right up in Minnesota. Similarly, maybe more of these Grizzlies guys who we forget they had either the first or the second best offensive efficiency in the league last year. And that was without Ja Morant really playing that much. That was really with Desmond Bane, Triple J, and like Zach Edey, man. So this team is obviously very well run. They're going to come in with a fresh new head coach. They're kind of just hitting the reset button, and I would not be surprised if they end up moving off of Ja. What would be funny is if they don't get a similar haul for Ja.
And if you think about it, Ja's value less than Desmond Bane. He might be with the shenanigans.
It depends on the team, and it depends on what their need is. I think if you desperately need a point guard at an explosive level, they're probably going to end up paying something similar. But yeah, it would. That was something that crossed my mind. I was like, is Desmond Bane actually going to get better value back than Ja Morant?
I actually think so.
He might.
Yeah.
But also, other teams might see this trade and be like, "We're not giving 4 unprotected first." Like they might, it could have just been a spur of the moment deal for the Magic, and we just won't see something similar because of that. So, I like it for both sides, but for different reasons.
I mean, Desmond Bane. Like when I first saw the trade, I was like, I absolutely love this trade for Orlando because he does the one thing they can't do, which is shoot. There's still a league that is built on shooting. I know there's this obsession with the double bigs, and if you have bigger lineups, you're going to be more likely to go, further in the playoffs. But if you ask a lot of GMs and a lot of people who are on these teams, yes, they have big men, but they also want a lot of those big men who can shoot. So I think with a lot of, sets and whoever, ideologies and stuff that coaches are running, they want guys who are versatile. And when you look at a guy like Desmond Bane, I mean, he's a little shorter. I mean, what is he, like 6'4", 6'3"? I don't know. I guess he's a wing, but guard, whatever. And he has the T-Rex arms. But one thing he can do is he is a pit bull on defense, and he will shoot it. And I didn't know this about Desmond Bane because I haven't really followed him. I mean, if I ever was watching Memphis, he was a part of the package of highlights I would see. But mainly I was looking at Ja and whatever else he was doing on the court, on and off with Memphis. But he's – if you're looking at Desmond Bane's stats, like he's flirting with 50, 40, 90. He's super efficient. And when you're talking about a guy who was in that range, like I know he hasn't made any All-Stars, and a lot of that stuff it's just tougher in this opportunity.
Semantics,
and it's the West too. Yeah, it's just harder to, as a guard or wing. It's just tough to get in that realm of like, hey, he's an All-Star, first-time All-Star. It's just tough. So, I don't really factor that much in, but I just look at this as like, I think Orlando got exactly what they needed. And now, like I said, I was just looking at the roster really quick just to be like, okay, who do they have left over? Like Jalen Suggs, healthy, is a guy who's an asshole on the other side of the defensive side of the ball. And he is the point guard. And like I said, he can, make an open shot or whatever, but he's going to be the tough guy. He's going to be the tough guard that's going to make assignments for the other opposite guard really, really hard. Or he might be able to guard some wings as well. You're going to have Desmond Bane, like I just explained him. Like, so you got Paolo Franz and Wendell. But the two guys I'm looking at is one guy that played at Michigan, I think a couple years ago, Jett Howard. I think he's been in the G League or whatever. But he came in with the, I guess, reputation as a shooter. He's a shooter. He needs to make a decent leap to where maybe he can get into the rotation early in the year and then maybe become, like, reliable playoff time. Because I feel like this team is going to be in the thick of it for like the top 2 or 3 seeds in the East next year. And then Anthony Black, who was, I think, maybe their pick a year or two ago. I'm not sure. Maybe him and Jet might have been in the same draft, but He's another 6'7" wing. He had some kind of decent moments in that Celtics series, even though they got beat. Like he's a 6'7" wing. He's versatile. He can play point. He can maybe be not Cole Anthony, because Cole Anthony is a quintessential scoring guard. Like he's not a point where it's like he's controlling offense. He's just, you come in, get us 10, 15 points if you can. Mm-hmm. Anthony Black has a higher potential to do more than that, but that's not really what his role would be. Anthony Black would maybe be someone who would come in during a playoff series and play 10 to 15 minutes, handle the ball, make good decisions, and make some plays. So those are the two guys I feel like is gonna. And Jonathan Isaac, of course, we already know he's a defensive savant. So to me, I think those two guys, Jet and Anthony, they got to kind of they do have to come up, and to your point, people about the bench, they got to fortify it, because then right there now you're looking at. That makes you 7 to 8 deep.
Yeah, like we say about 7 to 8. That's the number. 8 deep right now.
That's what you gotta have. You gotta have 7 to 8 when it comes to the playoffs. Now in the regular season,
9 or 10.
Runs around and
that's
stuff.
If
you could get 9 or 10, yeah. And the Pacers and Thunder are. It's like I said, this is gonna be interesting to see in the going years, because it does feel like they are the anomaly. Like the Thunder is just always. It's just you're not gonna have a team like the Thunder. No. And the Pacers, because of where they are now, you could build a team like the Pacers, but you got to be like flawless. But if you could be like the Magic I'm talking about and get to 8, if you can get to 8, I think you have a really good chance, because their guys, and this is no disrespect to Halliburton, this is no disrespect to Siakam. If Paolo gets to where he needs to go, he could be a top 15 guy in the league.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Top 10-ish.
Their stars are better than the Pacers.
Mm-hmm.
Franz, if he plays how he's supposed to play, can be a step better than Siakam, right? So I think their ceiling is higher with their top guys, so then maybe your bench doesn't have to be as crazy. But absolutely love this for Orlando. I do love that teams now, like you said, Zoo was talking about, like, you're just going for it because you kind of see blood in the water with the East of how it's going, because even with Tatum coming back the next year, we don't even know what Boston team's going to look like after that.
The team's going to get blown up because the contract.
We don't know. Yeah. We don't know. So, like, just because Tatum comes back, it doesn't mean Boston, okay, now they're coming back and they're everybody who has eyes have seen. And like I said, Charles Barkley said it, and that's why he had so much pressure on OKC, because he was like, you can't just think you're going to get back here. This league has proven that you get your chance and you're in that finals, you better win, because there is no chance or even no promise that you're going to get back. There's not, like, as much as I love OKC, they probably have the greatest odds to repeat. But I'm not picking that. Because it's just not what this league is building on. It's building on parity, and it's been like that since the bubble, or even maybe before that. Maybe might have been since the bubble.
Post Warriors,
it's just been different champions.
Post KD Warriors,
pretty much.
Yeah. Just kind of been. Everybody, gets to the promised land and they play, and then it's like you get the press conference where it's like, this team's young. We have soldiers. We'll get back. No, you won't. You'll lose in the second round, and now you're looking around like, oh crap, like we're in the finals. Yeah, we hadn't been back in the finals for so long. So I love this for Orlando. They went for it. They got a guy flirting with 50, 40, 90. The picks, they're gonna be good. Like, unless injury happens, which no one can predict, if like Paolo and Franz get season-ending injuries, then yeah, those picks could be really good. But like most people, when they were going through I
gotta emphasize this, especially in the East, because even if you're not that good in the East, like, you're gonna be up in the standings because the East is so bad. You're just gonna roll in that top 8 in the morning. Like,
let's
be the bottom of the East. So
let's be fair. The Grizzlies could flip those picks too. That could be another.
They could package them. You're right. They could package them and be somebody else's
guys that they could play. Like KCP could play 20 minutes a game. Cole Anthony could play 20 minutes a game. These are some nice,
solid players,
bench rotational players.
And let's be honest, they don't draw free agents down in Memphis. So the best way that they have to grow
they got
is either draft or trading, right? So and
trade for a star,
abilities with 4 unprotected firsts. They could draft or they could flip them, and that's the only way.
Yeah, they could flip. And like I said, they're not OKC, but they're one of the top 5. I guess you would say GM organizations, whoever's running the organization, they're top 5 in terms of they get their draft picks and they put them to good use and they become really good players. Like you said, that year when was it when they were battling the Warriors in the playoffs? So those are just all homegrown players outside of, I think all of them were home, like Dylan, Ja, I think all of those guys were, all those guys are homegrown. So it speaks to their front office, and they could do, whether it's drafting or sending off those draft picks to get other assets, they can do that. I just think like everybody was like the unprotected is a little like, dang, they got it unprotected. Like maybe you couldn't get any like lottery protected or top 5 protected, but Desmond Bane, that speaks to how good of a player he is. So it's like if you really want him, you're going to have to pay for it. And to me, I'm just like, dude, it's blood in the water, bro. We don't know what Boston's going to be. Like I said, Milwaukee, Dame's hurt. Giannis is literally, I saw things, he's like doing stuff on TikTok. So like, is he really locked in?
He's trolling
like
on the internet right now.
It just kind of feels like you got to take advantage of these next 1 or 2 years. And like you said,
I would say 2 years. I would say
2 years. They got a window.
Window. There's a window.
That's
right now.
They have to do that window. And even if, like you said, they don't win the finals, because everybody always, I hate sometimes when it's absolute of like you have to win the finals. Even if they just get to finals, I do think it's worth it because it's like, bro, again, if they're really good, those picks, like unless they do package them, they're. And I know everybody drafts differently and stuff like that, but dude, if we're playing percentages, those picks in past 20, some of those guys barely make the team, or if they do, they're just decent rotation players. Like it's just. You know, I'm not caring about those picks. It's like picks. I used to be the guy that was like, oh God, you're getting picks. Like, but once that Anthony Davis trade happened, I'm like, screw the picks, screw them. Because if you get an impactful player that could, like you said, I know they only got 1 championship, but it's like, dude, look at that package specifically. Look at how it came out. Everybody was destroying the Lakers. Like, oh my God, you gave that trade looks like a steal for the Lakers. Like that whole all
you know what?
Like half of the teams are not even on a team anymore. The players not even on the team.
Also, why? Because Anthony Davis then later turned out to be Luka Doncic.
Yeah, and that's the residual of that. Now that is like an anomaly. That's
crazy. Ingram, and a bunch
that will happen in the playoffs
for a championship and Luka Doncic.
Like, hold up. So Rudy Gobert went to what was his trade? How many picks did he go for when Utah got
4 first round picks?
I want to see. I seriously want to see how that ends up because as much as you say about Gobert, they have been to 2 conference finals, and what the hell has Utah done? But just keep getting worse.
Yeah, Utah blew it.
Those picks aren't turning into anything crazy. Like that's to the exact.
They're not building now. If they had the frozen envelope and got Cooper Flag, then like okay, now you're on a trajectory of like your team's gonna get good in a little while. But Utah, the only thing they have claim to fame is, hey, Lauri Markkanen's for sale, and then we're not going to trade him. That's all they do every offseason. And they just play a bunch of young guys. They haven't done anything with post-Gobert. And like you said, they don't have Donovan Mitchell anymore. It's like, that's why I start to see, like, 2 teams you obviously don't want to trade with probably. San Antonio, Memphis probably because they're pretty good, and like OKC because they're gonna make you pay. If you give them picks, they're gonna make you pay. But everybody else, give the picks up. They're gonna screw it up anyways.
Watch, you know what's gonna happen?
It's a player.
Grizzlies are gonna trade 3 first-round picks for Chet Holmgren, man, and then Sam Presti's gonna be like, "All right, beautiful."
Hey, I'm not. Listen, especially if it's trending towards now. Of course, we just said we don't want Chet as a first option, so. You know, I don't know if they got rid of Ja somehow and did whatever, and it was Chet and I'm blanking on his name, Triple J or whatever. I don't know. That would be kind of tough to sell to the front office and fans. But if they could somehow get Chet in there and then get maybe another dynamic guy, somebody they drafted, then yeah, I wouldn't be mad at that. But that's a I guess a long ways away because I don't think OKC's in a. No, I think if they were to get Chet on the block, they're gonna get a haul, and it's gonna be something that's worth their while.
And they better already have a ring on their finger. They better already have
Presti's not a dummy. Like Presti, that's the thing about Presti, man. Like you're not gonna get the better deal against Presti. You're just not.
Nope.
He always knows how to get it. Like he's just has the foresight. So if you're trading with him, like if I'm a GM, I don't have Presti in my phone. Like I'm not picking up the call with him.
I'll tell you,
trading with him.
He's winning that day. He's winning the negotiation.
Yeah. I don't care. I'd rather get fired than like pick up the phone and have to trade with him. I was like, I'll just go down with the ship because I know if I trade with him, I'm going to be screwed. I might get screwed out of my job faster. So like, nah. So, but I do. This is right now. You could say, oh, this is a win-win for both sides, just because I feel like Memphis knows how to draft. If Memphis wasn't a great franchise in terms of drafting, I'd be like Orlando all the way. And I still am leaning more Orlando because Bane's a really good player, man. He's good. So
the only thing I'm concerned about is they got to do something about their bench because we brought up they got 3 guys off the bench. Only one of them has actually proven something, and he's also had some injury issues.
It's projection. They got to.
It's projection with the other 2, even with Anthony Black, who's had moments. So they got to either make one more small move or
they just need a veteran though.
Yeah, they just need veterans.
Now
so
I
they
think
might
it's the
sign some
easy part
veterans.
where you just find some veteran guys that
Sure.
are two-way guys that can play their roles. They don't have to play heavy minutes.
PJ Tucker.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
I'm just kidding.
I'm good.
I don't know about that.
You know, I saw a video of him shooting. He looked really good. I saw a video of him lacing corner threes. It's like, God, he still
Wow.
can shoot.
He's a new age
yeah.
Shane Battier, man. Let me tell you.
Shoe game's crazy too, but yeah, I don't know who that veteran would be, but they got to find someone that could.
Yeah.
If Bruce Bowen was still like, I don't know if he's even like viable, but like coming off of the Denver stock he had,
He
like,
need to go
would be a
back to
perfect fit
Jokic.
with them.
That's what he needs to do. Come
yeah.
back home. Come back home.
Yeah, they're gonna pay Christian Braun whatever he's gonna get paid, so they ain't got to worry about. They ain't got to worry about
have that situation repeat. The Michael Porter Jr. contract, the Christian Braun contract. They got to chill with these big contracts. That's why they have no money.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see. This is super interesting, and I can't wait to actually watch just like preseason. Even though I don't really watch preseason NBA ball, but like just watching preseason workouts with them to see how their team fits, because they definitely are going for it. And then it's like this Eastern Conference, man. It's anybody's game. It's anybody's game. I love the Pacers, but it's anybody's game. So we'll see. So like I said, Game 6 is coming up. Hopefully it goes to Game 7, then jumping right into NBA draft coverage right after that. So make sure you guys are tuned in to Tyson Talks on Instagram, Tyson Talks on, I guess you say Twitter, but I'm not really on Twitter as much. But, YouTube, Quantrill knows, a lot of different videos, a lot of different conversations. TikTok, Tyson Talks _. Spotify, Apple, give us 5 stars, please, so we can get an algorithm so people can listen to us and get our audio adventure, just like you get our video adventure here that's live on YouTube. And for me, Zoo, and P. Bush, we are out.